What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of NBA to the Galaxy Pod featuring myself, Scotty. You can find me on Twitter or X. I saw Elon Musk is considering switching the name back to Twitter, so we can still call it that for the time being until something is official there. But nonetheless, you can find me on Twitter at Scotty Drown. You can find my other host here at RTR30111, also known as Slim, Slimothy, Slimster. A couple different nicknames we have for Slim on the show here now, you can just call him Slim. Nonetheless, welcome back to NBA to the Galaxy Pod, guys. Let us
Yes,
know how you're
sir.
feeling there in the comments. We are ready for the NBA Finals. The matchup is established. So definitely let us know how you guys are feeling in the comments there. Be sure to like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and definitely help us grow this channel and reach out to more and more viewers and get more and more commenters involved in the show. But Slim, how are you doing on this fine Friday, my friend?
Doing good, bro. Can't complain. Luka Magic, first finals appearance. I can't wait. Him and Tatum matching up. But yeah, man, doing good. Yeah, man. Excited to be here to talk hoops with you, man.
It's funny, man. Leaving that series with just real quick thought on it, honestly. Leaving that series, watching the Mavs versus the Timberwolves, watching the Timberwolves a little bit against Denver, right? It showed a
Yeah.
little bit, but I'm so happy that I don't have to watch Minnesota in the finals because it was really starting to drag down my mood. Like the defense, like if they're gonna win, it's gonna have to be low scoring. It's gonna have to be in like the low 100s or the high 90s for them to get a W. And they've really had no outside legitimate offensive threat outside of Anthony Edwards. I mean, Nas Reed wasn't even as consistent as he should be. Cat is inefficient as albeit one of the worst things I've ever seen. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's my real quick. You pulled the jersey up, and I'm like, yeah, I would much rather watch Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic play against Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, so on and so forth with the Boston Celtics. Man, it's going to be a nice show when you talk about offensive masterpieces. I feel.
Yeah, I tend to agree, man. I mean, both of those guys, like Tatum Brown and Kyrie and Luca, a combined what is it, like 90, something like that? Like six. Mm,
Trying to
wait,
think, like,
um,
because Tatum had to average what, like 30?
yeah, I would want to say 30. And
Are
then
you talking
Brown.
like in the playoffs or last series?
Well, yeah, the last series in general.
Yeah, because I feel like Kyrie had to be in the 25 to 30 range.
Yeah, something similar like that. But anyway,
Luca's
like
always in the 30
it's gonna be a
range.
heavyweight fight though, like the
Yeah.
Tatum Brown versus Luke and Kyrie matchup, man.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. We'll get into that a little bit more at the end of the show. We're not going to touch on it too much tonight, because we will get into that next week on Tuesday's show. Nonetheless, we'll give out predictions and whatnot for the NBA Finals. But let's start with that Mavs and TWolves Game 5 in Minnesota. Going into this game, man, Minnesota was the favorite going back home. They were minus 200, minus 190. I saw in the books to
Mhm.
as far as money line for this game. And I did. I expected them to go home. I expected them to play in front of this crowd, man. But to be honest, they didn't show up, and they didn't show up at the beginning of the game specifically, and it cost them. Um, I was surprised that they didn't show up early and often with energy in this game, but there was some stuff leading up to the game that kind of made me second guess the Minnesota Timberwolves and them winning this game. And a lot of it was the talking, man. That they were just talking way too much, especially after you win one game out of four
Yeah.
against the Dallas Mavericks team that you quite honestly in late game situations you really haven't been able to do what you're supposed to against this team. And one of them was Jaden McDaniels. He said something like they should have won the other two games, like games
Yeah.
1 and game 3, and that they can definitely win 3 more in a row against the Dallas Mavs. Nas Reed
Nas
said
Reed, yeah.
he said, "Yeah, if any team can win 4 in a row, it's going to be us." So on and so forth. And Edwards said the stuff to Michael Parsons about bringing some size 14 AE ones back to Dallas and they come to
Yeah.
Game 6. So these guys did not shut up after they won Game 4 in Dallas. And there was something weird about this game, and I tweeted it out yesterday when I woke up because it was the first thing on my mind. Like NBA basketball, it's playoffs. Like I'm thinking about it when I wake up, thinking about bets, especially like sports betting.
Come on, man.
And so as soon as I wake up, man, I say good morning to my girl. I say I love you, and then I check my phone and get into the books, man. And
Man.
I was thinking, I was thinking, it feels like Minnesota should win at home, game 5, right? They shouldn't lose in 5 games to the Dallas Mavs, right? But then I started to recap all of the shit talking, and I knew there was going to be a Luka bomb last night, man. It was 20 points in the first quarter. What were your thoughts from this game, man? Because I've let out a lot here. What are your thoughts on this game?
You hit it on the head for all the right reasons, man. Like the talking that they was doing, and it's like, man, when you playing against a guy like Luka, you may want to be careful with the things that you say, especially like being in a predicament that they was like. It was 3-1 to that point. So I mean, you
Yeah.
won your first game. Don't get me wrong.
Why
But I
talk?
mean, yeah, why say the things that you said?
And I mean, Minnesota's fans must have been saying some crazy shit to Luka for the way he was talking to some of them fans, talking to Snoop Dogg too, man. I mean, it was some legendary stuff.
At that particular moment, though, like you definitely had to be careful what you were saying. But yeah, with Luka though, bro, like where it was the guys on the bench, the TWolves bench, he was talking crazy, man. Like even
Yeah,
in the language that he speak,
yeah.
you know, he was talking shit to them. Like I'm not an expert lip reader here, but he was saying some crazy things to the people in the crowd, man. Seriously. And even he had words for Rudy Gobert. Like it got to the point like
It was embarrassing.
at one point in the game, like Rudy had switched on to Luka, he just started laughing, man. Like that is just crazy to me. Like he just laugh at the defense player of the year when he come guards you, bro. But
It's embarrassing.
Luka was
And
just on one, man. Like 21 points in the first quarter. He just came to put those guys to rest, man.
no, you nailed it on the head. And I thought the other thing early on in the game that like was really telling about where this game was going was Rudy Gobert leading the Timberwolves in field goals taken in the first quarter. Like, why? Why? Like, that was the other thing I took away from this game was like, I don't know if it's the coaching, if it's like the mindset they want Ant to go into the game with is to like get other guys involved. I saw something in like the third quarter ish. They were already down 30. Maybe it was even the fourth quarter. But he hit like 2 or 3 back-to-back threes. And as there was a timeout called, he goes back to the bench and he yells something at somebody. And I swear what he said, I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but I swear my interpretation of what he said was, why are y'all effing trying to tell me to pass? And he was just finally letting it fly from the 3-point line. So I don't know if that's really what he said. I don't know if he said something like that. That's what I thought when I read his lips. And my interpretation from how the game went, he came out very passive. He came out very much with the intention to get Cat in positions to score, get him confidence, get him rolling, get Gobert going, get him rolling on the inside, and just overall spreading the ball around. And I thought that's the wrong mindset. Like I do get getting everybody involved, getting everybody in a rhythm, but you saw how Luka came out and put the nail in the coffin quite early. Honestly, they weren't able to recuperate from that first quarter, the rest of the game, and especially the first half. But I don't know if that's a coaching thing or what there with Ant Edwards and kind of the mindset, just the difference in the mentality that he comes out in a night to night basis, and it really showed in the Dallas series. I feel.
Yeah, for sure. I did see when he said what he said. I actually thought it was something like pass me the effing ball or something like that. That's what I
Maybe it
thought
was
was
that.
saying.
Maybe
Yeah,
that
'cause
would
he was
that would
looking
make a little
towards
more
somebody
sense.
when he
Maybe.
said that. I can't quite remember who it was, but yeah, man, like Luka, he outscored the whole Timberwolves team by himself in the first quarter. I
Yeah.
mean, that kind of like says it all right there. Then for him to do that, they had a luxury to like get a ball to somebody like Kyrie and then
Yeah.
say, okay, now it's your turn to go out there
Yeah.
and do what he do, and which he did. He came out, I think, like 5 for 5 in the second quarter. He was cooking. they didn't
Yeah.
have an answer for him. But
Second
yeah,
half.
man, like with the yeah, I say, hey man, he definitely was too passive in that situation. Like you got to come out being more aggressive, look for your own shot. But
Yeah.
who knows, man? It could definitely be like a coaching thing too, like trying to get Cat and Rudy involved. But
Yeah.
you know, you got to have your best player on go, like the Mavericks had Luka. Like he
Yeah.
set the tone early, like everything ran through him, like he was having his way, and they just fed off of it. So yeah,
Yeah, no, I agree, man. Luka ends up with 36, 10, and 5, 14 for 23 from the field. Kyrie with 36, like you said, he turned it on in the second quarter, and it kind of kept going from there. He was hot from there. Hit some big threes. Like anytime the Timberwolves would gain any steam towards coming back, Kyrie
Kyrie,
nailed the
man,
coffin.
Kyrie,
PJ
man.
Washington nailing the coffin from the corner. They were just hitting shots, but yeah, more specifically, Kyrie's were like in defenders' mouths. Like they have their hand up, they're in his face. He's fading away and he's nailing threes in your mouth. And it's demoralizing. It's demoralizing, like the
Yeah,
shot
to
making
say the
ability
least,
of
man.
those two.
To say the least.
Like I feel like Luka coming out like that in the first quarter, it's just like, man, like this is the night he's having. What are we gonna do about it? And I feel like even that can be a little intimidating. Like if you're Ant Edwards and Luka is hitting everything, do you really want to like go back and forth with him and try to go shot for shot with Luka? Like I'm not. I don't know. It would be a little intimidating, honestly, if a guy comes out looking like that. But that's when you got to show you're him. Um, Looking at the T-Wolves before we move more gravitating more closely to the NBA Finals with the Mavs and the Celtics. Looking at the T-Wolves, what are your takeaways from this postseason run? From this series, obviously, this was the one where they crumbled, but from this postseason as a whole, what is your big takeaway for this T-Wolves team? What do they do next?
Well, I would say Ant Man has arrived for sure. A lot of guys was saying, you know, he's the future or whatever, but I'd say he's the now. Like he's
Yeah,
only going to continue to keep elevating his game. So yeah, but where do the T Wolves go from here? That's a great question. It's like, do you like kind of panic in a sense and look to trade Rudy, Cat? It just depends on like what offers come available. I feel like you should listen to them for sure. But
yeah,
I mean, like you could try to go out there and get another backcourt score besides Ant. You know, have Mike Conley come out the bench if you could. But yeah, it just depends on like how they plan on going forward with Cat too. Because I mean, this is it's going to be an expensive team next season. Ant Man, Rudy, Cat, I think they are going to make like 40 plus
yeah,
million. So
yeah,
you got Jaden McDaniels on the max, and you got Nasri, Mike Conley. So those are a lot of expensive contracts. So I could assume that they would for sure be in the mix of like trades or whatnot, trying to get some salary off. But yeah, man, just just get like better marginal pieces. I say because I
yeah,
would say this, like I felt like they had like the pieces, they just didn't make the necessary adjustments. I felt like in game four, that was like the best adjustments I see throughout the whole series from the Timberwolves. Up to that point, I didn't really see anything major though. But
yeah,
I mean, you talked about like a feelings thing too, like with Rudy, like you don't want to take him out the lineup, hurt his feelings or whatever. But yeah, just try to go out there and get like better marginal pieces around Ant. And if you decide to keep Cat, then see how he look next season.
yeah, yeah. See how it goes next season with Cat.
Yeah,
No, I tend to agree, and it's funny, you look at the coach and it's Chris Finch, and you wonder like, is there something there? Like, is there something there? You can't fire him. By no means can you fire him. He got you to the Western Conference Finals.
yeah, essentially
He
what's
was
up.
injured. He wasn't even able to, coach and stand up and actually coach most of the playoffs here.
Yeah,
And maybe it looks different if he's able to, if he's in the huddle rather than the
fair
backup
enough.
assistant head coach, right? So to give him a little bit of credit here, I guess you could. To your point, I think the bigger thing, and I think maybe it's not necessarily that you have to trade Rudy Gobert or get Cat off of this team per se. I think it's more or less that you do have to get a legitimate second option next to Anthony Edwards when it comes to
Yeah,
scoring.
right.
And to do that, you may have to move one of those guys. And that's how I feel. It's not
Yeah,
necessarily that, oh, these guys got to go. But if we need to do what we need to do for this team to be better next season, to be more closer to a championship, I think you're ultimately going to have to let one of them go in order to get something in return. So yeah, I would consider trading Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns, obviously, or even Naz Reid, depending on the value around the league and what is, what you can get in return for those guys. Naz Reid doesn't have quite the contract, but he also where was he at in these last couple games for the Timberwolves? He was breaking shots, he was missing layups, he wasn't being impactful in the defensive end. So as great as he is as a six-man option off the bench, he brings a scoring punch. He wasn't as consistent as he needed to be in the big moments either. So I think depending on the value you can get back for any of those three, you should consider it. I agree with your point about Mike Conley and Kyle Anderson, those type of guys in the rotation, specifically starting. You need to get a playmaker in there next to Ant. If you can get a playmaker and a scorer in the same package, that's great. But you need to get somebody that is not like 35 years old next to Anthony Edwards. Somebody that can impact the game and be consistent. And that's not to say Mike Conley was bad. He was actually good when he was in the lineup. He just was injured. He couldn't play big minutes, and so that hurt them down the stretch for sure. So I think just getting quality, like you said, marginal pieces in here for the T-Wolves has to be the goal this offseason. But yeah, I think no legitimate second option is the big thing here next to Anthony Edwards. That's what really, really stuck out to me. And I'll lead into this with it. Karl Anthony Towns was the most disappointing player in the conference finals for the NBA playoffs this season, man. For him to come out and look like that after he gave like a strong finish to the Denver series, looked pretty good in the first round, right? Coming off the injury, to come out and just have these like career shooting lows in the conference finals, 37.9% from the field, 24.2% from the 3-point line, only 19.6 points per game, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 0 blocks per game. He didn't have 1 block in the entire series. Wow. And I think that just speaks to like the level of aggressiveness, the level of confidence in a guy like Karl Anthony Towns. And I'm not sure that you can win with a guy like that, honestly. People talk about Julius Randle, right? Julius Randle can score the rock. He can put the ball in the net. But there's just those nights where he's going to shoot horribly, but he's still going to take the most shots on the team. And I think that's Karl Anthony Towns. Like, there's no way you come out of this game and Karl Anthony Towns has more shots than Anthony Edwards. Part of that's Ant's problem. Part of that's Karl Anthony Towns just doing too much. And maybe it's the coaching too, trying to get him involved once again, but it's not the route that you take to win when it comes to these big spots. So Karl Anthony Towns, man, the biggest disappointment for me in these conference finals.
I tend to agree, brother. For all the right reasons that you listed, but also other reasons, like some of the silly fouls he was doing. Like, come on, man, you've been in the league.
Immature, right?
Like you've been in the league 10 seasons now. So you could argue that he hasn't had a lot of playoff experience, but still, though, like some of the fouls he was committing were just simple, like just
Why can Ant be this good at his age, but Karl Anthony Towns, it's like Ant doesn't have playoff experience either.
Yeah, fair enough. Just like unexcusable fouls, and then not only that, like some of the shots he was taking were just like, come on, man. Like I understand, like you the self-proclaimed best shooting big man to ever play the game, but that shouldn't stop you from going down low and being a dominant big man, posting guy, rep or whatever. But man, I tend to agree. Karl Towns was beyond horrible. He had his best game of the series. I give him his props in game 4. Yeah. But other than that, it's just been a terrible series for him overall, man.
What's good, Marshawn Lynch? Luka was talking Slovenian to Snoop Dogg last night. I did see a lot of that last night, man. That was funny.
Yeah, Luka also really stayed over there in Minnesota.
Yeah, see Snoop in Minnesota. That was interesting.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
No, would you call this season a success or failure for the T-Wolves? What do you think?
Success. You made it to the conference finals for the first time in like 20 years.
Yeah.
So you can't. you can't knock that, man. I mean, obviously, you came up short of your goal of making it to the finals, but you
Yeah.
didn't make it to the conference finals. So, I mean, that's definitely something that you can, build on heading into next season. So, yeah, I definitely say a success for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a success, despite the way it looked, despite like your feeling coming out of that
Yeah.
series against the Mavs, like very unsure of Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns to say the least. But aside from that, you get Ant into the Western Conference Finals. You get him that experience. He leads the team, and he's going to learn from it. Like you said earlier, Ant will be better. He's only getting started. So yeah, it has to be a success for that team and where they got to this year. Although probably disappointing coming out of the series, in 5 games, losing that way at the end. But
Yeah, I mean,
to be fair, man, they had a very tough road. I'm not giving any excuses by any means because the Dallas Mavericks had a very tough road as well, and they overcame it. The Clippers, OKC, and then the TWolves. But the TWolves, they did look like they ran out of gas, especially Anthony Edwards. Coming out of that Denver series, they played Phoenix in the first round. I'm not giving any excuses. Like I said, Dallas played a really tough one as well. But yeah, it's
yeah,
interesting.
like you could arguably say it was a failure in the sense of how they went out. You could definitely say that. Like I definitely didn't expect them to go out the way that they did. But
Yeah,
as you mentioned, like those guys, they were pretty gassed. Although that's not an excuse by any means, but I mean, them guys playing the Nuggets just took the life out of them. I mean,
yeah,
just their multitude
defending
playing on
champs.
altitude, playing in Denver, Colorado, man. You got your work cut out for you. So, yeah, that and then just we talked about Cat, just the way he played.
Yeah,
Rudy Gobert, the way he was being attacked defensively, it was just crazy, man. Lack of
yeah,
adjustments on the coach's end. So, yeah, it was a
yeah.
disappointing way for them to go out, though. I will
The
say that.
season's on the line in this game 5 on your home court, and the defensive player of the year 3 times didn't have a single block in the game. Like I get it. They're taking him out of the paint, whatnot. How do you not have one block? You didn't impact one shot in the
Mm.
game, man, as a 3-time defensive player of the year,
What
7 foot,
time?
whatever. 4 times, excuse
What
me. My
time?
bad. My bad. I'm discrediting him. I'm discrediting. 4-time Rudy Gobert, defensive player of the year, did not have a single block last night with everything on the line. Yeah, moving on. Let's move on to the NBA Finals a little bit here tonight. Marshawn Lynch says he's got the Mavs winning the chip in 6 games. Says Luka ain't worried about them racists in Boston, respectfully. Loves a good redemption story. We all clowned Kyrie 2 years ago. Yeah, I was part of that as well, man. A lot of it was misunderstanding. A lot of it was misrepresentation, I would say, by the media.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, my mom, Tiffany. Yeah, this is my mom, by the way, everyone. Just so everyone knows.
Oh, hello,
I
mom.
don't know if Slim knew that either,
No, I did
but
not know that, bro. Shame on you for
Tiffany,
not introducing her to me until now, bro. Come on, man. I
she
thought it was
cannot
better than that, bro.
stand Tatum or Jalen Brown, which is interesting. She's rooting for the Mavs for sure in that one. But let's talk about it, man. Going into this NBA Finals matchup, I said it earlier. I'm excited for it, and honestly, more excited for it than what I would have been if it was the T-Wolves ultimately.
Yeah,
But going into this matchup, who does this mean the most for? Like, who needs this ring the
man.
most? Is it Luka? Is it Tatum? Tatum's the big talk, right? Is it Kyrie Irving, the redemption story, like to get a ring away from LeBron?
I mean, for all the reasons you just listed, you can't go wrong if you name either one of those guys, right? I mean, and what about even Porzingis though? Like, he was on the Mavericks at one point. That didn't work out. So how would it
Yeah,
look for him to win a ring?
revenge.
Yeah,
Yeah,
revenge. So I mean, you can't go wrong with either one. But I feel like though, if Tatum falls short, bro, like the narrative with him will probably be worse than Luca for sure. This is his
yeah,
second finals appearance, and his team. He could arguably say that they got the better all around team compared to the Mavericks. So
yeah,
I mean, I would probably have to go Tatum if I had to choose.
yeah. I think I agree with you. Because you also like when you get into the thick of it, Tatum did play, the Miami Heat without Jimmy Butler, the Cleveland Cavs, 2, 3 games. I can't remember if it was 2 or 3, but
Yeah,
at
that's
least
enough.
2 games without Donovan Mitchell, and then at least 2 games against the Pacers without Tyrese Halliburton. You get to the finals, you win the finals against the Mavs, albeit that's your path. You did what you had to do to win the championship. You lose in the finals, you get gentlemen swept or something. Yeah, it's gonna the heat's gonna turn up, and it needs to, right? Like if that happens, if they get to the Mavs and all of a sudden look like this completely different team, look like the underdog, then yeah, there's something really wrong there compared to the Mavs, where you could say they did have this tough path to the NBA Finals. Maybe they're a little tired. Maybe they're not the more talented team outside of their 2 stars. But I don't know. At the same time, it feels very even in a sense going into this series. What do you think? Like, do you feel like the Celtics like should be the favorite, or do you feel like this matchup is a little closer to even?
Man, it's tough to say. It's just like if you look at it from the perspective of like, okay, the Celtics do have Drew Holiday, which is who was a 2-time All Star, just an All Star last season.
Yeah,
And then you look at the Mavericks. I mean, besides Luka and Kyrie, there's no other All Stars. Then even Porzingis was
yeah,
an All Star once too. So if you want to look at it that way, even Al
very
Horford too. But yeah, you could look at it like the Celtics had the advantage in the sense of ways. I mean, they got a proven champion in Drew Holiday. The Mavericks got Kyrie, proven champ, Jason Kidd. So yeah, you can look at it from that way to a certain extent, but not all the way. Like the Celtics got the clear cut advantage, like in terms of like that aspect. So yeah,
yeah,
I can understand that. But I will say this
yeah,
though. Word of advice to the Celtics fans out there: y'all may not want to boo Kyrie, man. You probably want to do that because I mean I'm assuming that it would be Derek White's responsibility to guard him. So don't do that to Derek White, man. I mean he got his work cut out for him, and rightfully so. But don't wake
yeah.
up the beast, man. So just throwing it out there it's for advice for Celtics fans, man.
Yeah, no, that's some good advice. I don't know if they'll follow it. They hate him up there, but
Yeah,
it would be in their best interest to not talk shit to Kyrie Irving, man,
yeah, man.
or Luka Doncic. I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't mess with either of these guys. That is the interesting thing for me, though. Looking at these matchups, and I just thought of it while we were on the air here. But in the big moment, I'm just thinking of like closing a game, and or maybe it's opening the game, like it's game 5, right, against Minnesota in Minnesota. But Luka comes out, he hits 3 back-to-back threes. He's talking shit in Jason Tatum's face. How does Jason Tatum react? Like we've seen how Luka reacts, like to Ant Edwards, to different matchups in the postseason. SGA, right? Not necessarily talking shit, but SGA cooks, right? Um, we've seen Luka respond. Jason Tatum, how does he respond in that moment if another guy like Luka Doncic is like really coming? Like, is Jason Tatum, is he him? Like, can he match up with Luka Doncic?
It's tough, man. It's like you want to say yes, but it's like, man, JT, he can't be confused, bro. Like
He is
it was like
confusing. Yeah.
game, what was it, 3? Game 3 or 4 against the Pacers. Like he made 2 fadeaway mid-range shots in a row, and for some reason he comes down the court and just shoots a contested 3-pointer. Like, what is you doing, bro? Like you got the favorable matchup on you and Ben
Yeah.
Shepherd. Like, go back in the post. Why are you settling? But to answer your question, I mean, I would say yeah, Jason Tatum is him. Like to be that guy who could go bucket for bucket with Luca, but I mean, it just depends on how like the pace of the game going too, though, because Luca, he's like a true floor general. Like he can control everything on the floor. Whereas to Tatum, to a certain extent, he could do that. But yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like he can
Luka's
probably
a much
go.
better passer.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
probably go bucket for bucket with Luca, man. I get it to him.
Bucket. Yeah. 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 Because when Tatum gets hot,
Yeah,
yeah.
he do be on one. Yeah,
Yeah, when he
he
gets
be
hot,
on
like
one.
I've seen it. I've seen it happen
Yeah.
against Philly. I'm not gonna undersell him
Yeah,
there.
50 piece,
That's
right?
fair.
51 piece. Was that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was like game 6 or game 7, man.
Yeah,
I don't
51
remember.
piece, all
Um,
flats.
hey, Tatum is a bucket. I'll give him that.
Yeah, you
Um,
gotta show some love. This your Duke guy, right? Come on,
he
man.
is, man, but it's so like, I got two Duke guys on the Mavs. I'm leaning into that a little bit more. Derek Lively, Kyrie Irving,
Kyrie,
right?
yeah.
But I mean that's like the one positive if Tatum does win an NBA championship. He would be one of the best, if not the best, player to ever come from Duke. So I mean that is one positive to pull out of it. But when you look at Tatum and Jaylen Brown versus Kyrie and Luka, like what does that who does that match who do those matchups favor? Which side of the matchup do you think is
Mm.
winning that battle?
Tatum, bro.
Tatum and Brown. Brown was cooking in the Eastern Conference
He was,
Finals.
man. He was. I can't discredit that for him. He was doing his thing,
And
but
who's guarding these guys? What are the matchups? Like I'm curious how it
the
plays out.
matchup. So I can assume that Drew Holiday would instantly be, the assignment to guard Luka, right? I feel like it should be a collective effort of him and
Interesting.
Tatum. Him
I
and
thought
Tatum
I
should be
thought
the
maybe he would guard Kyrie, but who do you think they'll throw in Kyrie then?
yeah.
Derek
So
Derek
here's the
White
thing
or
though, like
Jalen
you could do
Brown?
Tatum and Drew on Luka, and then Brown and White on Kyrie. I feel like that'll be pretty good. Like if things like obviously you can make adjustments just depending on how
Yeah,
things start to go. Like if Kyrie get to cooking, then I would assume that you would put Drew on Kyrie and then put Derek White and then Luca. I mean not Luca, but Derek White and then Tatum be a collective effort guarding Luca. So it's just like adjustment that they're going to make. So yeah,
yeah,
I can see that. But
yeah.
man,
It's gonna
favorable
be
matchup though, like man, it's just going to be tough to say, man. Like it really is. Like Tatum, because you really can't go wrong with either of them, man. I'm not gonna
I
lie.
think I trust the Mavericks more for some reason. I maybe it's just my
You're
hate
not the
for
only person
Boston.
who told me that, bro.
Yeah,
I
maybe
just
I
heard that a
it's
few
because
days
I
ago.
hate Boston. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
Like
definitely because you hate Boston, honestly. But uh,
I
yeah, I
trust
can.
Luka more than
Yeah,
Tatum. I trust Kyrie more than Jalen
I
Brown.
can see
I
that
don't
though.
know.
Yeah, I can see that Luca and Kyrie can be the favorable guys here. Yeah, I can see that.
But once again, like when you talk ceilings, it's very close. No lie there.
Yeah,
Um, when you look at like X factors, I feel like you named it earlier, and it's still a little bit of a question mark. He's going to return at some point, maybe at the beginning of the series. But Kristaps Porzingis, I feel like, is that X factor, and he is the one.
yeah,
I see Marshawn Lynch in the comments. I see my mom in the comments talking about even Darius earlier. D-Rab was saying, the Mavericks are winning this series, and the Kristaps Porzingis thing makes me really, really hesitate. Like Drew Holiday, obviously, is another guy that is an X factor there. You mentioned it; he's an All Star as well, NBA champion. But Kristaps Porzingis is that matchup problem. The guy that
yeah, yeah,
he's not like Cat. Like I think Kristaps is a little bit better than Cat, but
yeah,
maybe it's just the fact that he's playing in Boston in that system around Tatum and Brown and Drew Holiday. But when he's with those guys and he can just space the floor, and then he gets the occasional mismatch with a guard that he could take him to the post. Life looks really easy for Kristaps. So depending on how healthy he is, I think is going to be a big factor in this series. And then you mentioned it earlier. He's playing against a team he used to play for. They kind of gave up on him in a sense,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, for the guys that they got for him, although
It
they did
worked
go
out.
to the conference finals once they traded him. I think they got Dinwiddie and some more pieces in the deal. But yeah, like I'm curious to see like how the Celtics going to approach this. Like, you going to have him come out the bench, or you just going to throw him into the starting lineup? Like
Right.
that's the key thing for me because Al Horford has been pretty
Right.
solid in that
Yeah.
starting center role, being able to stretch the defense, knock down his threes, and just be a good rebound out there. But yeah, man, it's interesting to see like how they're going to do it. That and then his minutes, like how they're going to spread
Right.
those out. Because
How did they ease
Chris,
him back
like
in?
Porzingis only played like 4 games this post run, or
Yeah. Right at the
yeah, but
beginning.
yeah, 4 games. So it's gonna take like maybe a game or two to get his conditioning down packed. But yeah, it'd be interesting. But like you mentioned, like he can be a matchup problem for sure. I mean, he is a like obviously he shoots a lot of threes, but he is 7'2", and you can't throw the ball to him down low.
Yeah.
He can,
He's
you know,
athletic.
shoot over you. You know, get to the rim, make plays. So yeah, he can't be a matchup problem for sure.
It's gonna be
But the
interesting,
real
man.
thing is though, Scotty, is
Yeah,
that he can't be a matchup problem. But then on the other end, like, can he hold his own on defensive end? Because it's going to be interesting, like how their defense going to go. Like obviously, you know, Minnesota was playing a lot of drop coverage with Rudy Gobert.
yeah,
But the thing is, like, how they going to do it with Kristaps though? Like, is he going to, you know, play up high, you know, hedge it, or just stay, you know,
yeah.
drop coverage as well? Like that's
That's
going to
going to
be
be a big
interesting.
part of it when you talk about Kyrie and Luka operating with those screen and rolls,
Yeah,
and you see Gafford and Lively just wide open all the time. They shoot 100% from the field because everything's dunks
yeah,
and layups, man. So yeah, that's a great point. It's going to be how are they going to defend that pick and roll? Because that's a big part of Luka's dominance is his ability to pass, his ability to put the ball in the right spot. But Drew Holiday gonna lock up either Luka or Kyrie. I'm gonna go in the forefront and say no. I think
yeah,
he's a great defender. I think maybe 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, lock them up. I don't know, but play them tough as hell. Play them as tough as he could or as someone could. I think that would be possible, but this day and age, I just think Kyrie, the way he's looking,
yeah,
Luka, obviously in his prime right now, or entering it, maybe. I don't even know. He's been in his prime since he entered the NBA,
yeah.
but yeah, I don't think so. I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
think
I'd say
anybody can.
like, yeah, it's really not about like completely stopping them. It's just about containing them to the best of your ability. And I feel like Drew
Yeah,
Holiday, like one of the better guys in the league to, you know, be able to contain those guys to the best of anybody in his league. So yeah, it's not necessarily about completely stopping them, you know, locking them up. But he'll do a pretty good job on Luca though. I'd say that though.
yeah, I feel you. I feel you on that. Like you said, it's not about necessarily stopping them, but maybe just not letting them score a combined 72
Yeah,
points.
because I feel like Luca, to be exact, going to get his 25. Like they're just
Yeah,
guaranteed.
25 to 30.
Kyrie, like 22, 23-ish. I feel like it's kind of guaranteed at this
You
point.
get into dangerous territory against the Mavs when Kyrie starts getting in those 30s. Because like you
Yeah,
said, Luka's going to get in the 30, the 25, 30 range. But when Kyrie gets up there, he starts scoring like he was
yeah,
last night, man. They're a
yeah,
really, really hard team to stop.
yeah. Like the thing is, like with Luca, like when you allow him, you can let him get 25, but you let him get 25, you know, 10 and 15. That's where your problem start to comes in at right there. Like, you know, the
Yeah,
extra things like the
the assists,
15
the
assists,
rebound.
rebounds, and you know, things like that.
And that's the thing. They do what they have to do to win because you'll see nights where Kyrie has 10 assists. You'll see nights where Luke has, 15 or 12 rebounds. Let's be realistic. 12 rebounds.
Yeah, 12
Something
rebounds.
crazy there. But no, I'm excited for this matchup, man. We'll get into predictions in next week's show. It's gonna be a fun series to talk about. I just hope it gets it into an extended part of the series, like 6-7 games. That's really what I want from it. I want to see these matchups really, really go at it and see everybody at their ceilings. I don't want to see stinkers like Carl Anthony Towns. I want to see everybody operating and playing
Yeah.
some really good and
Right.
confident basketball. And that's what these teams have been doing so far, man. So I don't have anything else tonight. I don't know about you, Slim, before we get out of here.
That's pretty much it, man. I just ready to see what the finals gonna look like, man. And yeah, man, this season comes to an end, man. It sucks,
Oh
man.
man.
I mean,
Yeah, we don't
yeah,
have basketball all week. We can watch the WNBA. I'm
yeah, we
gonna have to
can.
start getting into it, but like I'm not into it just yet. I'm still focused on the NBA right now.
Yeah,
But yeah, no basketball over the weekend, man.
yeah, man. The NBA finals. Just gotta enjoy while you can, man.
Yeah, that's facts. We'll be here along the way for the rest of the ride. We'll be here all off season with you guys as well. So be sure to subscribe, turn the notifications on, and give us a follow on Twitter or X, whatever you prefer to call it.
So,
You can find Slim at RTR30111. You can find myself at Scotty Drown. For myself, for Slim, this is NBA to the Galaxy Pod, and we are out of here. See you next Tuesday. Peace.